Avillo. Oh, what the fuck is this? ID Avillo? Yeah, I wine Avillo. Avillo secretly Mario in an Avillo suit. Angry Kitten, please come to channel Mario so that I can check this out with you. Let's do some coaching. Woohoo! Do you have a Skype, Angry Kitten? Who are you coaching? We are coaching Angry Kitten for 1 hour. We only do our coachings on stream, and it is $25 an hour. Okay, give me just 1 second. Let me take this over. Add you on the contact. Add to contacts. Sent you a contact request. What matchup? Depends on what he wants to work on. We'll see. We're about to find out. Hey, what's up, buddy?
Well, not a whole lot about yourself.
You don't sound like a kitten. What the fuck?
I don't.
You've thrown me off guard. I expected a whole bunch of meow, pet me, play with me.
Yeah, I can do that.
All right, so how are you? Let's get straight into this. I don't want to waste any of your time. Tell me 3 things that infuriate you, frustrate you, or you can't deal with. You know, the worst to the best. If there's nothing you can think of, just tell me 3 problems that you have a hard time with.
Oh god, everything infuriates me. If we watch a replay, I'll be raging every single one of them. Like my name's Avillo.
Okay.
Of course. I tend to get supply blocked a ton. I'm really bad with aggression. God, I was just thinking of these on my drive back home.
Do you feel like you understand the matchups? When you get into a game, regardless of the race you face, do you say, "I have a plan"?
Um, yes and no.
Okay.
I mean, depending on what I see is kind of how I respond.
All right.
Um, I know my gas timings are horrible. I can tell you that.
Well, how about we take a look at a game? What matchup do you feel is your worst matchup? What is holding you back the most?
Oh God, my worst matchup. They're all pretty terrible. Um,
Let's take a look at your statistics.
yeah, let's do that.
Profile ladder. Statistics. Oh, you haven't played this season, have you?
I've played like 2 games this season, and it was just awful.
So I see that you play a lot of Zerg.
Yeah, I tend to play a lot of Zerg. I mean, back in Brood War, my buddy and I played Terran to death, and I decided to give Zerg a shot this time around.
Okay.
But I still
Did,
off race Terran because I know it and I understand it.
and you want to improve as Terran?
Yeah, I'd like to improve as Terran, to be honest.
Okay.
I like Zerg, but Terran is kind of what I know.
How about we look at one replay and we can try to associate it with your your play style and so forth. I'm gonna toss you an invite and make you leader, and then when you load up the replay, just simply give me host and let me start it, and then I can control it. We don't have to go like through every single detail. I can quickly look through it so we don't waste time, and I can see like the outstanding, outglaring problems first. Because it seems to me like, all right, so Zerg seems rather confident, so you have to have some sense of macro, right? You're a Silver League player, you're at about 50% win-loss ratio, but your Terran drops off the board. So it could be something like you don't quite understand how to play with Terran, or it's probably something isn't clicking that's preventing you from really pushing forward. And my goal is to figure out quickly what that is, and then we can spend the rest of the time trying to fix it.
Oh, all right. Is a versus AI game okay? Because I don't remember the last time I played Terran on ladder.
Yeah. Overall, we want to see what you prioritize real fast. Am I coaching? Yes, I am coaching. Whoa, Mario doesn't do this very often. Is this a 2v2?
Yeah, it's a 2v2.
Okay, let's take a quick look real fast at your thought process. With Terran, there's a lot of different varieties and choices you can do, but there's always a safe build, right, in every single matchup. And to some degree, you can get a safe build. You can do something that's relatively safe against everything. The lower the league you are, the more often than not, the more stuff will save you, right? More stuff.
Yeah.
So your macro to at least it has to be decent for Silver League since you're about a 50% win loss ratio. I don't know if you cheese a lot or do you macro a lot.
I tend to macro. I don't really. Like, I can justify breaking the cheese out to win a best 3 or something, but I prefer a macro game.
Okay. So something I can tell immediately is like your build order seems a little wonky. So you're going Hellion Banshee with upgrades. Are you going into bio? It seems like you're going into bio.
Yeah, I think I went bio mine in this game.
Okay. I do like Hellion Banshee into bio, but your upgrades are way early. But that's I mean, you're not bound to have a perfect build order. Just trying to see like what you're prioritizing. You know, is it like defensive units? Is it offensive units? What is a good idea of your build order? I mean, I know it's a computer, but
Yeah, I've mostly been playing a lot against the computer just to try and practice my mechanics, but
yeah.
Base is under attack.
I know I'm practicing wrong, so it's kind of pointless.
Did you want to go towards more of a bio style or a mech style? Because I think I have a good idea of where I want to take this.
Honestly, I kind of wouldn't mind going to a mech style. I prefer the mech style, to be honest. I always love Transformers, and every once in a while I like to drop a Thor into somebody's base and go, Metal Gear!
Metal Gear. Alright. So the biggest issue that I saw skimming a replay is that you have no game plan. I mean, you do to a degree. You kind of know, like, okay, Hellion Banshee is kind of an all-right opener. But then you're over-making a lot of units that you're really not supposed to be making to a degree. Like, you have a general consensus, but you have no structure. Your macro kind of seemed to be all right, but I think the biggest thing that would be killing you overall from what we've just seen is structure, because you get your upgrades way early, you stick way heavy on Banshees and Hellions based off of going bio in that specific game. The amount of production you had off of the amount of bases was very off. So I think when you play Zerg, you probably have a good sense of what you want to do, right? You probably have some sense of a build order, or at least to some degree you have some sense of how you want to follow this up. But the impression that I get when you play Terran is you're like, all right, well, I probably need a lot of barracks, or Banshees aren't bad, you know, and then you're just like, you take a generalization and then you go with it, from the looks of it. I don't know how close I am hitting to home, though. How do you feel about what I'm saying?
Excuse me. No, I think that's pretty right.
Do you mind tossing the leader, by the way?
Oh yeah, sorry.
That's fine. Don't worry.
I've been jotting some notes down here. There you go.
So what we're going to do is we're going to give you some sense of a direction, something to follow. We're going to give you a little bit of a strategy, and we're going to give you basic guidelines because you've conveyed that you're a reactionary player, right? You seem to like to dictate the pace of the game through harass, but overall, based on what you're doing, you're a reactionary player because you say that your strategy depends on what you scout. And as a Silver League player, if your strategy already changes depending on what you scout, you prefer to be hiding behind a wall of units, which explains why you made a few Widow Mines. Your units were constantly behind there. You only moved out with harassing units, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna give you a kind of like a general build order and some rules to go with it, something that you really have to follow. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna give you a guideline to follow all of your games with, because right now what you're missing is a guideline. Is there any way that I can add a computer to this? Or did I hit join, or did I hit create? Could you leave that real fast? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
I think I hit join. God damn it, I don't know why. Oh wait, you can join. I got it.
Oh, whoops. Cool.
Alright. So the first thing that you have to acknowledge in every single matchup is if you're playing bio, there's certain rules that you have to go to, like if you're on 1 base, no more than 3 barracks. If you're on 2 base, no more than 5 barracks, and if you're on 3 base, no more than 8 barracks. Same thing with mech. If you're on 1 base, preferably no more than 2 factories, or 1 factory. If you're on 2 base, preferably no more than 3 factory, or 4 factory. It really depends on how much gas you're allocating and if you're cutting resources. And then if you're on 3 base, preferably no more than 5 factory, or 7 factory, depending on, again, how many upgrades you get and so forth. So in this game, what I want you to do is every single game from now on, you're going to wall off. Just as a generalization. Because it'll help you prevent a lot of all-ins. So that's the first precaution we're going to take. You're going to do a standard wall off, and you're going to go for a 15 gas.
15 gas?
15 gas, yeah.
Alright.
Now, in every single matchup, 2 Marines before anything with a wall off can hold off a lot of all-ins. It gives you a lot of diversity. Against Terran, you can chase away a Reaper. Against Zerg, you can chase away some Zerglings, maybe an Overlord or 2. And against Protoss, you can just skip the add-ons and keep making Marines. And, you know, if you have to be defensive, or maybe drop a bunker and keep on going with your tech.
Alright.
Now, there are some certain rules that you have to follow. Again, factory rules, as we stated. If you're going bio, in higher leagues, I don't recommend this, but if you want to, in lower leagues, you can stay on Marine, Tank, Viking until you're on 2 bases, until you have your natural secured. So you're more than welcome to do that if you want to play safe. You can open up with a medevac if you want to do like a mine drop into Marine, Tank, Viking. But if you want to be safe until you get the hang of it, you can stick on Marine, Tank, Viking and then go straight into mech play. You know, just by throwing down 2 more factories. So at any stage in time, when you feel safe, you're going to throw down 2 more. Or when you feel like it's time to progress your base, you're going to throw down 2 more factories. That's like the key thing to mech is like you're going to say, okay, I'm on 2 gas geysers. I have an expansion. I'm going to start my 3rd expansion, and then I'm going to get my 2 gas geysers, and then 2 more factories. So 15 gas, yeah, and then you're going to get your orbital command. You want to make sure you get your orbital command, yeah, always, and then your 16 supply is always going to be the Marine. So another set of rules you're going to follow is you do not exceed 2 gas geysers until you have a total of 3 command centers. They can be either orbital or not, but you want to have 3 minimum before you start your third and fourth gas geyser. And the reason why we're going to do this is because at a Silver League player, your macro falters a little bit.
Upgrade
So we're
complete.
going to give you extra minerals to go ahead so you can make, you're going to want to start your command center, by the way. Yep. We're going to give you extra minerals so you can make an extra amount of supply depots. So we're going to have you really focus on pumping out supply depots and making units that's, in my opinion right now, in your league, more important than constantly making SCVs. I mean, do what you can there. The supply depots and units are going to be your biggest goal. And so once your third command center is on the way, you can start like a supply depot every 30 seconds or something like that. But let's move on from there. You want your factory, because you're getting a little bit high, and then you can start a reactor on the barracks. You can go up to 3 Marines if you want, so you can chase away stuff. If you think a cheese is coming, you can scout with the SCV that makes the barracks or right before the barracks, you know. Those are good timings. But if you ever feel a cheese is coming from Terran or Zerg, build a bunker on the high ground, and if it's from Protoss, you can build the bunker on the low ground. The reason for this being is that unless they go 4 gate, a bunker on the low ground will thwart anything. But if you want to be safe, you can just always drop a bunker on the high ground. So you want to start another command center and an overall command. And another gas cask.
Add-on.
So your reactor is just going to be for pumping out Marines. You're going to have a lot of minerals in a minute. Don't worry about making anything out of the factory right now. Just get a starport and then get a widow mine. Because you want to get the starport relatively fast. Now, at any single time, you do want to scout the Protoss, and if you ever see double gas, just go ahead and make a bunker near your mineral line and put the Marines in there and just delay everything a little bit. And if you see an Oracle, just run towards the bunker. Now, this is going to stop a lot of things. Your biggest concerns when you're doing this build is going to be like Dark Templar, or Banshee, or Dark Templar, Banshee, or Oracle. I think those are going to be the biggest concerns with this build. So at 645, I always want you to make an engineering bay.
Alright.
And stop scanning, like dropping mules. About 6:30, you want to stop dropping mules. Now you have like a general build order. I mean, the build order could be a little bit tighter. You know, you drop like your supply depot on 10, your barracks on 12, your gas on 15. You get 2 Marines, you get a reactor, you get a command center, and then you slowly go up from there. You know, it can be a little bit tighter because it's a little bit loosey-goosey right now, but it's fine. All the timings in your league are going to be a lot lower. The Widow Mine is nice at the front. If you ever have a Widow Mine at the front, you want your Marines near your mineral line if you're facing like Protoss or Terran. The reason for this is because you want to stop drops, and the Widow Mine at the front is going to stop a lot of things. So always try to have your units away from the Widow Mines in those 2 matchups. You can see you have 3 orbital commands, you have a lot of SCV, so right now in this situation, I don't recommend making a Banshee, I recommend making a Raven, and you can do that in every matchup.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, it's fine, don't worry about it. You can make a Raven, get a Tech Lab on your factory, make Marine, Siege Tank, Viking after you've made 1 Raven. And that's going to stop a lot of cheese, you know, so you don't constantly have to scan against like Banshee or Dark Templar. Yeah. So this is generally nice. Now I want you to make like 2 supply depots at a time, constantly, and drop 2 factories. You want to dedicate 2 SCVs to always making supply depots. And now your biggest goal is going to be making units and supply depots.
Add-on complete.
And once the factories are done, you can swap out the add-ons and make like 1 Viking at a time, or you can make 2 Vikings at a time with a reactor. You're going to try that in every single matchup. Go up to like 2 or 3 siege tanks and then into 4 Thors and then back into siege tanks. The magic number is 4 Thors and some Vikings.
4
A lot-
thousand Vikings?
Yeah, 4 Thors, and you can make as many Vikings as you want, and you go straight into siege tanks. Well, relatively as many as you want. Try not to go over 20.
Alright.
So your priority goal is going to be, okay, so I'm gonna get a reactor and an expansion. I'm gonna get a starport, or a factory and a starport, and I'm gonna get another command center, and I'm gonna work my way up to 3 factories. And your goal will be, I'm always gonna try to produce supply depots and units out of my 3 factories. They take priority over Good night, Bloodbath. They take priority over SCVs in your league at the moment. Although I'm not saying forget about SCVs.
Complete.
If you look, you have a lot of mules, and they're going to cover a lot of your income. Like, you can just mule your entire natural base, and you'll find that you're going to have a shit ton of income. Like, you want to rally down to that natural base, too. Like, you're oversaturated in your main. So if you ever see, like, a shit ton of SCVs, like 18 SCVs mining, and you actually have a little bit more, you know, you can try to keep it at 16. But you need to make sure that you look at all your buildings constantly. Make sure that you're like your number one most important thing is making units, and your number two is supply depots right now.
All right.
Yeah, you can make Vikings. You want to get the gas geyser since you're on 3 orbital commands. That's why you have so much excess minerals. You can see that you're banking a lot of minerals, right?
Yeah.
So if you're ever out of gas, just make Hellions, and just supplement the siege tanks for Hellions for a round until you have enough. So this build is designed, this is something you see me do on the ladder all the time. And it's because you want to use the mineral influx to get a lot of Hellions as a buffer, and then you have a few core units. And you just keep pumping out as many as you can, and you artificially inflate your supply by just constantly making supply depots and Hellions. You know, you're just going to have so many minerals that you're going to keep pushing your army supply higher, and you have a few core units that they try to reach to kill, but are never quite able to get. So you need to be a little bit stronger on making units. Like, you can see, like, okay, I have like 2,000 minerals, I have a lot of gas, or I don't have a lot of gas, so I'm just going to make Hellions for a little bit, and I'm going to drop 2 more factories so I can have even more Hellions done. Once you're on 2 base, you can go up to 5 factories, and don't be afraid to say, I'm just going to make Hellions for a little bit because I'm low on gas. Never be afraid to say that.
I'm going to make Hellions for a little bit because I'm low on gas.
You do want to get your other gas geyser. Like, once you establish a base, getting that gas geyser is the most important thing. You don't have to get your natural until you've started the 3rd orbital or the 3rd command center, but once you land it, getting those gas geysers are pretty crucial. So it's going to be, once again, you know, your build order is going to be getting a barracks with a reactor, a command center, and a factory, then a starport, then another command center after that starport. Then you're going to try to expand, get your gas geysers, go up to 3 factories, and if you find yourself on a heavy influx of minerals and low amount of gas, you're more than welcome to grab 2 or 3 extra factories, and then just pump out units, like just Hellions while you build them, because you're going to be low on gas, and just try to keep your money down. Like, the biggest thing is trying to keep your money down. You can even still make supply depots, because you haven't made them for a little bit. Like, if you're ever in doubt what to do, if you're ever confused, what should I do next, just automatically jump to make units real fast. Just make units. Like, that's going to be the biggest thing in your league, is just making units. You'll be able to overpower a lot of people because of that. Units and supply depots, really. And I recommend everyone, even if you're going bio, like, your biggest thing should be making sure that you have enough production, and making sure that you're constantly using them, because it's going to be more important than SCVs at a lower level, because your macro is always going to run a little high, you know. You gotta keep making units. And you may say, like, I have a lot of Hellbats, which is fine because your gas geysers were really late. That's about the 15-minute mark, and you're at 150 supply. Some Mech-Terrans can get up to like 190 at this time, so you're not exactly terribly far off. You know, they do have some skirmishes in the meantime, but you're not exactly terribly far off. And the reason for that is that you've made a lot of Hellbats. Hellbats really inflate the supply, and they make it a lot higher because, you know, they're just a mineral dump, but they're not very cost or supply efficient. They're just there as a buffer and so forth. Like, they're great to throw away, so once you're max, you can just like run around the map with a few, never too many, but they're alright to throw away. Making Thors is good. Once you start your 3rd base, you can get as many missile turrets as you want, because looking at your minerals, you know, you definitely have a problem keeping your energy down on your orbital command. So be sure that so you should be prioritizing, like, again, over SCVs, because your macro is not going to be as good as like a Grandmaster, right? Your orbital command isn't going to be so great. Your cycles are going to lackluster a little bit. So what you want to do is heavily focus on the units, heavily focus on supply depots, and then spending your mule energy. And if you do those, you'll find that as a lower league player, you don't even need to go up to past like 40 SCVs. I mean, you want to, you always want to keep making SCVs, but it's not as crucial as making units and supply depots and spending your mule energy. So you could be making a lot of turrets right now. You can make like 4 per base, you know, just to be safe. If it was a Zerg, if it was a Protoss, you could probably make like 3 per base. Or if it was a Terran, you could probably make like 5 per base to prevent drops. And just little things like that, keeping your money down is going to be the biggest thing. You could have been maxed out quite a bit ago if you constantly pumped up on your supplies.
Alright.
So do you understand the game plan a little bit more? I mean,
Yeah.
how do you... Could you reiterate to me what the game plan is?
It's very hard for me to concentrate and play at the same time, so I might get, well, I'm going
No,
to.
that's fine. You can take your hands off the keyboard and talk about this.
Mineral field
I
depleted.
think the first thing we wanted to do here, first and foremost, was we were going to wall off, and do a standard wall off, then get our barracks, or with our barracks, start pumping out Marines. I think you said three Marines.
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, 2 or 3 Marines. And then we wanted to take our gas, or while we're doing that, take our gas.
15
Well-
gas geyser.
15 gas guys, right. And go up to
Mineral field depleted.
three Marines, or three command centers,
Yes.
3 orbital commands to get the economy going. But we want to focus on making units. The barracks to make a reactor, then we make our factory and our
Mineral
starport.
field depleted.
We'd make that Widow Mine, and then a Raven.
And then we go straight into Marine Tank Viking.
Yeah, go into Marine Tank Viking, and from there we can transition into mech.
The moment you're making Marine Tank Viking on a regular basis and you notice that your gas has exceeded 200 after you started a production, or a production is close to finishing, you can be like, okay, it's about 200, right? So, or if the production is close to finishing and then you're about at 300, then you can drop 2 factories. So whenever you feel like I have enough gas to drop 2 factories, you just drop it. And then if you don't have enough gas after that, you just only make Hellions and Marines out of the reactor, barracks, and the 2 factories, and then you just make 1 tank, 1 Viking at a time. It's not so important to get the add-ons on there as it is to constantly keep producing. Once your gas gets a little higher, you can throw down the add-ons. But ultimately, you want to get your 2 other factories, or after you land your orbital command at your natural, you want to get the 2 extra gas geysers as soon as possible. So you want to go up to 4 gas geysers as soon as possible. But only after you've got 3 command centers. So like your priority goal will be something like is going to be barracks, command center, factory, and you don't even have to get the reactor. It's just going to be, it's just very helpful to keep your money down, but that'll allow you to get your 3rd command center earlier if you don't do it. Starport, command center, 2 gas geysers at natural, 2 factories, keep money down, and make 2 depots at a time constantly. So that's kind of like your constant build order. That's like the most important thing you can do.
All right.
And if you notice that your minerals are getting higher, you just drop 2 or 3 more factories. You can cut gas for units for a little bit, and then just keep pumping out units. Because a lot of the people in the lower leagues, they're just going to be like, oh, I'm going to go for a cute timing attack. You're going to sit back, and they're going to do like, maybe like a marine tank push, and all of a sudden you're just going to have so many more units that it requires less micro to break them, that you could just kind of walk into the army. At no stage is that recommended, but if you can just completely out macro the lower leagues,
Is under
you're
attack.
gonna be pushing the envelope to borderline of like I don't even have to micro anymore. You know, I can just throw away units because my macro is gonna be so much better. Like Marines, they're not normally good in mid-game scenarios. Like let's say 10 minutes in the game, you don't want Marines if you're going macro. But if for some reason you don't have the gas, I don't care. You can make Marines if you want. You know, you can just keep pumping out the Marines if you really want, and your minerals are so high, you know. As long as you attack the moment you're maxed out, make Marines for 20 minutes into the game if you really want. Just don't get extra barracks, you know. Just just to keep your minerals down. Maybe it'll be some anti-air, but don't go. You're going with the thought that they're just a buffer. They're just to add a little bit of extra damage and get you maxed out a little bit quicker.
Okay.
So like the entire goal, I think like all the way up until platinum, your entire thought process should be, I'm going to pump out as many units as I can, and I'm not going to get supply blocked in that order. So as many units as I can, don't get supply blocked, make sure I'm constantly muling, and then make my SCVs.
Okay, so yeah, like I said, SUVs should just take lower priority.
Yeah, SCVs, the lower the league, the less of a priority SCVs are, if you have enough command centers, because the mules, like, you're going to keep forgetting to drop mules, right? I mean, you can drop so many mules right now, and your minerals will just, boom, influx. And you can shift your attention to going, I'm going to make sure I'm going to check on my factories an extra amount of time, and my SCVs a lot of time. And just doing that, it looks like I'm pro-Terran. Just doing that is going to make your minerals rise higher, and because you're not really making SCVs, and it's going to take away your attention from dropping mules. So all of a sudden you'll realize, oh, you know, I'm low on money now, and then you just drop as many mules as you can, and that's going to go away instantly. You don't even need that many SCVs as a mech Terran. You can go up to like 55 SCVs. I just like going up to like 90 because I love to throw away units and harass constantly and so forth. But you can go up to like 55 and completely cut it, which is, it's fine if you're on like 2 base and you transfer like a third of your main and a third of your natural into your third mineral line, you know. You don't even have to mine at your third until your main is mined out, as long as you have the gas geyser in lower leagues. Like the biggest thing is the gas and spending your money down. I bet you that you will, until you get to the stage where you cannot spend the money, or where you don't have enough money fast enough, you know, just keep by pushing out units constantly, like until you get to the part where you just don't have any more money even after you mule, you're gonna find yourself 1 or 2 leagues up higher than what you currently are than silver, you know. You're gonna be like, oh, okay, now I have to work on this because I'm spending my money so well.
Mineral field.
Gotcha. Okay.
So there's some things that go ahead.
I need to be right back.
Okay. Yeah, take your time. Is StarCraft easy to learn? Easy to learn, hard to master. I think a good takeaway for Terran is to know how many production facilities you can support at 1 or 2 bases, aside from general mechanics issues. Yeah, we're gonna dig a little bit more into that in just a second, and then we're gonna see if he has any specific questions and go from there. But yeah, I think knowing what production facilities you need is very important.
Depleted.
Learning what the units do and the definitions, I think that's pretty easy to learn. But actually implying it to a game, that's very difficult.
Depleted.
Like the barrier entry is a little high, but it's so worth it. Just thrash the Zerg. Good job, Mad Lord.
Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that.
No problem. Alright, so there are some things that you can never break. These rules must stick true. And the thing you want to practice as best as you can, keeping your money down to these rules, is you never exceed 3 factories off 2 base. Never exceed that. If you have the if you have the 3rd command center, you can go up to 5, but 2 have to be add-on-less.
Mineral field depleted.
And the reason for that being is because you don't have the gas. If you get the gas geysers, then you can go up to 5 and make as many siege tanks as you want, you know, up until that stage. But you won't have the gas to make Vikings as well. If you're trying to get like upgrades or anything like that. And I see that you got the armories, you know, fairly early on, so that's fine. You know, you just, if you find yourself gas starved, you know, don't be afraid to make just Hellions. But ultimately, you don't want to get really up to 5 factories unless you're on 3 base. And if you do, just make sure that you're not producing too many siege tanks. You know, you just use them as Hellion buffers, which is more than fine. You can go, I'm gonna, you know, make my 2 barracks, and then I'm gonna make two factories. I mean, and then I'm gonna make 2 more. And until I have those 2 done, or all the barracks done, or factories done, I'm gonna make as many Hellions as I can, and then go into siege tank production. That's fine too, because you can just hold using Marine tank or Marine Hellion Viking. but try not to spend more than like 2 siege tanks at a time off of 2 base. So, or actually, I guess that's a great way to say it. 2 base, 2 siege tanks at a time. 3 base, 3 siege tanks at a time. That's all you can afford while you make Vikings. If you're on 3 base, you can go up to 6 siege. You can go up to 6 factories, but then you'll have to have like 3 reactors and 3 tech labs, because you're gonna be pretty gas starved. Making Vikings with that. And ultimately, after that, you know, if you're on 4 base, you can drop 2 more starports, but you shouldn't really get to that stage. Your biggest goal should be getting up to 2 base, 3 factory, then 3 base, 5 factory, and push out the moment you're maxed. Unless he's in a super, super tight defensive position, then you just stop him from expanding. Force him to attack you. Do you have any questions in particular? Any confusions at all? Anything you need me to clear up? Or what's up, Black Dragon?
When I got the quick armory, I did that because I was under the impression I wanted to build those Thors right off the bat.
You want to go up to about 3 siege tanks before you consider Thors.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense.
And if you're playing against a Zerg, you can drop like an engineering base, still 645 if you really want, just to remember the timing, because your minerals are going to go high anyway. But ultimately, you don't need missile turrets until like 10 minutes.
Okay.
But if you're just gonna make siege tanks early on, and you can turtle on 2 base and make like a few missile turrets, and then keep all the timings the same, as long as you're aware that you don't need some of these things until a few minutes later. But the goal right now is to keep your money down, you know.
Vespene Geyser exhausted.
It's heating up out here.
Any more questions?
I'm doing. No, the gas timings you cleared that up for me. I just want to basically keep making depots, keep making units.
Units first. That's always your biggest priority is units. Because
yeah, keep making units and depots too.
Yeah. You basically want to, every 30 seconds, you want to make sure you're building units, and then you want to make sure you're building depots, then you mule, and then you build SCV. And then make sure, like, even if you haven't got the time to make SCVs, if you think it's time to make units, skip the SCVs, make the units, and then come back to the SCVs on your next cycle. But always make the units.
As bio,
Hmm.
do I want to keep making more SCVs or?
No, same thing.
Really, same thing. Okay.
Have you noticed your minerals go high when you play bio?
Yeah.
Yeah, what the lower league you are, the much harder it is for you to remember your cycles. So that's one of the reasons why I emphasize it, because you can just flat out win a shit ton of games just by remembering your unit cycles. And but the biggest difference between bio and mech is, like, in production wise, you can get, for every base you have, you can get 1 more factory, or 1 or 2 more barracks. So for mech, if you're on 1 base, you want 1 factory preferably, but as bio you can go up to 3, so that's 2 higher.
Okay.
As mech, if you're on 2 base, you want 3 factories, but as bio you can go up to 5, so again 2 higher. And then if you're on 3 base, then you want to kind of make your way up to 5 factories, but as bio you want to go up to 8, so that's 3 there, but you can stay at 7. That's more than fine. So the general rule of thumb is, like, if you're playing bio, you always get 2 more production buildings than you would if you got mech. And
2
then
more productions bio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you just remember 3, 5, 7, and then bio you can go, or mech is like 1, 3, 5, and then bio can be 3, 5, 7. That's kind of like the biggest, most important thing.
All right.
Yeah, honestly, if you just keep your spending down, I can tell you, you're gonna win a lot more games. Because you're spending, I mean, I was kind of reminding you to spend a little bit more, but it was still really high up there.
Mm-hmm.
And when you notice that you can't make any more units, you just have to tell yourself, I'm gonna go attack, or I'm gonna lock him down and surround him. It has to be one of the two. You want to lock him down and surround him at the bare minimum, so that you can force him to attack you, so that you can have your superior army take advantage of it. So you can take advantage of your superior army, like the ability to macro so much, because he might panic and just attack into you if he can't grab another base, and then you can virtually do almost anything you want. Also, when battles start, I want you, prioritize making units when the battle starts over actually microing the units. Because have you ever done a battle and be like, oh crap, I forgot to make units, now I die?
Yeah, I do that all the time as Zerg.
Yeah.
In fact, my average unspent as Zerg is about 26,000 minerals.
Yeah. I mean, just making the units and injecting a Zerg is so much more important than actually watching the fight. The lower the league, the more... I mean, people can win against Silver Leaguers just going mass SCV. And the reason why they can do it is because they have GM level spending. And they just come up with so many SCVs that the other players get overwhelmed because they can't keep it down as much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do it with SCVs, you can do it with almost any other unit. So that should be your biggest priority, is going, you could literally go mass Marines all the way to Diamond as long as you kept your money down.
Okay.
I mean, the higher you go, the more important the micro is going to be, but you could do it. But yeah, doing it as mech is just a lot safer because they're a lot beefier and clunkier, and people are going to walk into Hellbats, and they're not going to micro as well against Hellbats if they go like Zerglings or Zealots. They're just going to run into them and so forth. A lot of people in lower leagues will sacrifice a lot of their units just for the attack, which you kind of rely on by going mech. Then the higher, the lower the league, the more overpowered mech is, because they'll just walk into your army.
Yeah. It's a complaint I hear about Zerg too.
Yeah, yeah. when Bio goes against Banelings and so forth, yeah, they don't micro too well against that. I mean, ultimately, you want to go units in the lower leagues. Like, you want to keep your money down and your supply depots up, and then you want to go units that punish. So, like, Colossi and Templar are amazingly better in Silver than they are in Grandmaster.
Yeah.
Because people can't micro against it. Banelings are incredibly stronger. Hellbat siege tanks are incredibly stronger than Bio. Because if you walk into, like, Banelings, siege tanks and Hellbats are much more likely to survive than Marines and Marauders. So, I mean, it's a lot easier to manage.
Okay.
Any more questions specifically, or any other things you can come up with that you really want clarified or answered, or anything like that at all?
Well, it seems... I mean, it all seems pretty straightforward as long as I'm macroing first, and then microing second.
Have you know those games where I play and people will go in the chat and ask, like, why does Mario get to expand like that and I don't?
Yeah.
It's because when I'm in a game, my number one priority is keeping my opponent busy if I can. I would like to do this. I can't do it every game. Like, I would say, like, 40% of the time I can't do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have, like, a lock or a hold on me. But if I can get away with it, my number one priority is keeping them busy. Then my second priority is making units. Then it's supply depots. Then it's SCVs. I even follow that order at Grandmaster. Sometimes I'll cut SCVs just to get more units or supply depots. And it's actually a part of two of my strategies. And the biggest reason for that is, like, I'll just end up with more stuff. And the more stuff I have, the more I can feel like I can just drop bases. And the opponent goes, oh, he has a lot of stuff, I can't attack. And then he doesn't attack, and I have a lot of bases. And even at Grandmaster League, people will start choking up because you have so much stuff that they're too afraid to attack, to move out, to do anything, that they just bunker down. Now, the higher, the better opponents you face, the less of an issue this is going to be. But I'm telling you that, like, all the way up to Diamond, till Masters, even Grandmasters, they will start choking if you just have an insane amount of more stuff. They'll stop trying to attack you. They'll just freak out, and you can drop as many bases as you want.
Okay.
Or you can just run over them, because you grab the bases, you drop a shit ton of mules that you kind of gathered up during the fight. You get a little better at making SUVs, and all of a sudden, you have so much more stuff that you can just walk over them. And a lot of my games end up like that, where I have so much more stuff I can walk over them, which is why the last third game that I played, I was confined to two bases. Well, what did I have? I had a lot of minerals and very little gas, so I started prioritizing Hellions, and I dropped 2 or 3 command centers so that I could have even more minerals. The moment I got my third, I muled it to death, and I got my fourth immediately right after. And the reason I could do that is because the Zerg kept trying to attack, and all of a sudden I have so much stuff, and a huge amount of my supply was in Hellbats that I was dropping while I was slowly building up a siege tank count. And my entire thing was like, okay, I'm gonna mule this to death, and I'm going to replace every single Hellbat that I lost. Just don't lose the siege tanks. I keep replacing the Hellbats over, and they come back with a much bigger force, and I just keep expanding. And eventually I have so much stuff that it just crumbles. And that's pretty much what I want you to do, but without the harass. Like, you take away the harass and just focus on that part, you'll just be able to overwhelm your opponents.
All right. Just keep making more stuff.
You may die to some timings. You get one Widow Mine because you want to put it at your front or in your mineral line in case they go Oracle. If you don't get it out enough or out fast enough, you may just die. But their timings are going to be a lot slower than what it would be in a higher league, so you have plenty of time to work on that. Just make sure that if you have the Widow Mine in your mineral line, keep your Marines up front, and vice versa. Dark Templars might be a little scary. Just make sure that around 6:30 you save the scan, 6:45 you drop the engineering bay and drop one. And when the engineering bay finishes, always, no matter what the matchup, drop one missile turret at the front. The reason for this is because a lot of people will walk their Medivacs into it, their Vikings into it, their Banshees into it, their Mutas into it, their burrowed roaches that are going to, you'll be able to stop them. You'll stop a lot of cheese just by building that one missile turret at the front. Mm-hmm. And by building that Raven. The Ravens, the biggest thing is that it can help you clear creep, you can throw point defense drones, you can do auto turrets in the early game. There's just, even though it's not as good against Zerg, I want you to keep making it so you get in the habit of making it. I mean, I do make it sometimes against Zerg, and then if I have map control, I use Hellions and a Raven to clear the creep and so forth. So it's not the worst thing you could potentially make, but it's not the best thing you could make against Zerg. But it's great against Terran, and it's great against Protoss. So if you're in the habit of it, it's better than doing that than forgetting it, Because statistically speaking, in the lower leagues, you want to increase your win rate higher than 50%. So you go, how do I do that? Well, you have to cut corners somewhere. So if you make yourself slightly weaker to oracles and slightly weaker to like Marine Tank Viking pushes, but overall better in every other area, then it's just those strategies that may just flat up end up killing you. But at the same time, all the other games you may just flat up end up killing them. So you play the statistics. Like when I played the last game against the Zerg, I had 66% chance he wasn't going to be Zerg. So I played that statistic, I mean, he was Zerg, but we still play the statistics. So when I play Terran on the ladder and I go against Protoss, I go, statistically speaking, more Protoss are likely to grab their expansion than they are to cheese against me, from what I've seen. So I'm going to go gas first to punish it, and then I'm going to react. If they don't, then I just get my second gas guys, or if they don't expand, and I play defensively. So most of the time, I'm just able to completely overwhelm my opponents by my cheesy all-in play. And then for the ones that, they try to cheese me, then I just play the odds and try to play on like an equal turn and not get the advantage. So at the very minimum, I'm breaking even. So you want to work with the statistics, and that it's just making more units than them. It's just going to get you so much more than preparing for everything.
Makes a lot of sense. Even against Zerg, then I want to put down an eBay about 6:45.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the worst thing as long as you get in the habit of dropping at 6:45 and making that one missile turret at the front, and they go Mutalisk and they come down to attack you, and all your units are at the front. At the very minimum, he'll be afraid of the missile turret, and he won't kill your units. You might have some trouble in your factories. You know, he might try to kill some SCVs, but you can always retreat to this one missile turret and make some Thors or Vikings if you want.
Okay.
It's just you want like a basic strategy to get used to spending your minerals down and keeping the supply depots, and then you can branch off and do other things.
All right.
Any more questions? Anything you want to like clarify on? Or...
No, it's all pretty straightforward there. I've been making notes here, make sure I get as much of this absorbed as possible.
Any questions on your notes?
Let me see here. Yeah, if you don't mind, just to make sure I've got the build order down, can you go over it one more time?
So you want to make a 10 supply depot, 12 barracks, 15 gas, 2 marines, command center and a reactor about the same time. That's the reactor about the same time. Then you can start your second gas either right before or right after your third orbital command. Preferably while you're making the factory, I think, is a pretty good time. But you can wait until after you're making the starport and then you're about to make your third command center, so that's okay too. And then once your third orbital command is finishing, you want to, at the bare minimum, already have your expansion or be set flying it out. When you are making your Marine tank and Viking constantly, and you find that you have reached 200 gas while you have all those things in production, you make 2 factories. And when your natural lands, whether you get them with your first command center or with your second command center or your third command center, you want to get the gas geysers right away. And then when you find out that you have enough gas to afford 2 more factories, while all your 3 factories and your starport is in production, then you make those 2 factories and then you try to get your third base with the other 2 gas geysers, and that's pretty much it. You know, you just make like Hellion Hellbat siege tank Viking. And you just try to overwhelm your opponent like that.
And you said to take the starport after taking the expo.
You can your first command center that you build is going to be made probably before your factory and right after you make a reactor on your barracks. And then your second command center that you build, so your third command center, usually starts after you've made the starport and after you've already gotten your second gas. Since your minerals are going to run higher anyway, you know, it won't really affect your third command center timing too much.
Okay.
I feel like that loses to a lot of cheese like Proxy Gateway, Baneling Bust, Roach, etc. If he goes for a wall, you stop Proxy Gateway just by repairing the wall. If he goes for the Baneling Bust, if he gets the one Widow Mine and he puts it at the front, not right on the building so it doesn't blow up with him, but if you put it near there, when he runs up, you'll blow up most of his Zerglings, and the Marines and SCVs will hold the rest. And then you'll get siege tanks. If the opponent is doing a roach rush, he'll still have the Widow Mine up front. They'll weaken the roaches. You can pull some Marines, drop an auto turret, and use some SCVs, you know, and you can hold it and you're going to a siege tank. The reason why it doesn't matter that he loses some SCVs is because he'll be on 3 command center. But as long as he makes them on occasion, he'll be ahead in supply because of the excess minerals that he has.
Okay.
So the cheese won't be too scary as long as the wall is up and you pull some SCVs. Also, you don't just lose the Widow Mine. You know, the Widow Mine, it's nice to have it in the front, but don't put it near the buildings so where if banelings were to run up, they'd kill the Widow Mine when they explode, you know? Like, you can put it slightly more back, or you can put it square middle of the ramp. That's also a good spot.
Okay. And I want to build that reactor in the tech lab with the barracks, right?
The tech lab you want to build with the factory, and the reactor you want to build with the barracks. A Baneling Bust will hit about 5 minutes and 30 seconds off of one base. You can be producing 2 Marines at a time and already have a Widow Mine on your ramp when this happens.
Okay, so keep making Marines after the reactor starts,
Yes.
then make the mine from the factory, and then make the tech lab.
Yes. You want to
Okay,
get one middle mine before you start siege tanks, because that one middle mine will help you hold so many more cheeses.
okay.
And if you ever face like if there are zealots knocking at your front door, don't be afraid to pull like 4 or 5 SCVs to repair both supply depots and other side of the barracks. Just don't let them up, you know. Um, you don't want to pull everything, but it's okay pulling like 1/3 of your SCVs to hold it all in if you're not 100% sure you're going to hold it. Because your minerals are always going to run high, and if you're dropping mules, then it's fine. You know, you're just if you lose some SCVs, then your minerals are gonna probably break even, or you might be slightly mineral starved, but then eventually your macro is gonna catch up and it's gonna get too high. You know. So
Okay.
it's not that bad to lose some SCVs to her trying to defend. You saw that when the Zerg player came up with those roaches, I pulled my SCVs
Mhm.
with the Hellions. My biggest concern was don't lose the Hellions and you have a chance for a counterattack. And since you're losing the SCVs, well, you already have a third command center on the way. So just make SCVs and drop mules, and if you do some damage, you'll break even.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. The build order that I had written down originally was pretty off there, so I think I've got it in order now here.
Well, that's good. So what is the priority we're going for in terms of priority overall in every game that you need to make?
Units, supply depots, SCVs.
No, units, supply depots, mules, SCVs.
Units, supply depots, mules, SCVs.
Because your mule energy will get so high that it'll be more beneficial for you to mule than to actually make SCVs.
Okay.
If you can't mule, then make SCVs. I mean, you should be making SCVs constantly. Don't let me fool you into thinking that you don't have to make SCVs. But if you're going to do anything, do these 3 things before you make SCVs if you can help
Okay.
it. Sorry.
I tend to didn't prioritize the SCVs first, so
No. That I mean, the higher the league you go, the more you want to prioritize the SCVs, right?
gotcha.
But the lower the league, the less you need it because your minerals are high anyway, that you don't want to prioritize them.
Okay.
Mario, can you contact me by Skype for coaching? If you want coaching, I only do it on stream and it's $25 an hour. Adreno.
Do you do Zerg coaching too?
Yeah, I can do some Zerg coaching, but I do believe you're out of time.
Yeah, we hit the mark here definitely.
I think you're like 5 minutes off. So if you have any last questions,
Um, no, this about sums it up. I'm gonna start practicing on this, and when I like once I got that down pat, I'll come back.
sounds good, dude.
Well, thank you, Mario. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. I hope you learned something. And if you have like a quick question or something, remember anybody on the stream or anything at all. If you tweet me a replay and ask me to give you advice, I'll at least give you something that you can really use. So that's always free.
Oh, right on. It's been definitely been worth it.
Yeah, good. It's good to hear. I like hearing that. All right, peace out, buddy.
Later.